Hello and welcome to another installment of Slammin Synapses right here on YouTube and Facebook. I was going to do something a little bit crazy for this installment, but could wait for another time. A friend of mine posted something on their Facebook page that I decided would make a great installment, and it makes a very important message, so there it goes. A couple of you may already know the story, but a lot of you don't, but here it goes. Back when I was about 18 or 19, I was working at a video store, and I was closing one night, and I figured I was in the next day. I would do stuff to get it out the way so that next day would come along, I wouldn't have to worry about it. And got done with my stuff, left to go home, did my normal stuff, got something to drink, got something to eat, didn't think anything of it. On my way home, I was driving through an intersection and saw this car make a left-hand turn in front of me. By the time I saw it, it was kind of late, and it's like all I could think about was the stuff that I got kind of spilled all over the place inside the car, and I'm like, Mom's gonna kill me if she sees all this stuff like all over the car. So I'm like cleaning it out, like oblivious to what just happened. And all of a sudden I realized that I'm feeling a pain in the wrist area. My knee was kind of hurting, and basically, I don't know if you could see it that well, but it's like wound up breaking collarbone. And ambulance came, fire people came. They pulled me out the back seat, which is why to this date I tend to pick vehicles with a back door, because it was easy to get out. And I was just hurting. I was, I guess, in some sort of shock, because some pain was felt and some pain just wasn't. Any case, was in the ambulance on the way to the hospital, and all of a sudden I'm hearing the paramedics talk with regards to the other guy. And I found out something that I guess was kind of obvious, but really made me mad to hear. And that was the other guy was driving drunk. Guy was out on the road, probably not even in his right mind, but he was out on the road driving drunk. And if he hadn't been, then the accident that I got in would never have happened, because he would have had the sense enough to stop. I would have kept going upon my merry way, but 'twas not the case. So I had a cast on the arm for about 6 weeks, and when I went in initially, they thought that my knee was just sprained, so they put me in a splint. They took a second look at the x-ray and found like a hairline fracture of I believe it was the tibia, that I had to go back in and get a cast on the leg. Not to mention the fact of, since I had a broken collarbone, had to put a butterfly splint on my arm. So I'm like sitting back here like this, with arms like behind me. Well, not behind me, but kind of like straightened out, with a cast on here and basically a cast on the leg. And it was like that for about 6 to 8 weeks, I believe. Didn't stop me from getting around much. I think I moved around more with cast on my body than before. But yeah, it was just, as time went on, when it came time to doing certain things that I gotten used to doing already, and not being able to do them, like move around, like walk around, like personal hygiene for the most part. Times when you could just like go jump in the shower, you pretty much have to take sponge baths for the most part, because you can't get the stuff wet. It kind of made me realize there's a lot of things that I took for granted through that time period. Just simple things that you wouldn't even think twice about doing. Now you're kind of hampered by all the added hardware that you have on you. But yeah, since that time I realized two things. One, I hate people that drive drunk more than anything. It's very much a very major pet peeve of mine. People who just drive while intoxicated, putting not only their lives at risk but everyone else around them. Second thing that I realized, and something that I had done up to that point already, but trying to kind of cement the point home, was when I was driving, I had a seatbelt on, which, like I said, was something that I was doing up to that point anyway, so it wasn't anything that I was doing out of the normal or out of the ordinary. But needless to say, the conversation that I heard the ambulance people in the ambulance say, that if I hadn't had my seatbelt on, it would have been much, much worse than it was. But the fact that I wasn't a seatbelt, granted, basically what happened is when I lunged forward, the seatbelt tightened and pulled against the collarbone and kind of broke it, kind of pulled it. But you know, if that's what wearing a seatbelt did, as opposed to propelling me through a windshield at probably 40 to 60 miles an hour, if that did anything to prevent my body from lunging forward and getting more injured than it was, seatbelts save lives. It saved my life more than anything. It had more of an effect on maintaining my safety more than anything. So this installment is for two reasons. One, don't drink and drive. Whatever you do, if you do go out driving or go out drinking, find a designated driver or find a taxi, or just don't drink, period, while you're out, and think that you could drive later. Other thing, seatbelts save lives, so wear them. Doesn't matter if they wrinkle your clothes, doesn't matter if, what other excuses do people give for not wearing them. In any case, it doesn't matter. Whatever excuses you could come up with is not a good excuse for not wearing them. Then saying to yourself, you know, I can iron my clothes. Where I'm going, if I get there safely, a little wrinkle isn't going to matter at all. So don't drink and drive. And wear your seatbelt when you do go driving. That's it for this week. For Slammin Synapses, this is Gourrier saying so long. Drop me a line if you want to comment on this, if you want to share stories with me. I'll be more than happy to share them with my audience if you like. If you don't, it'll be just between me and you. But yeah, drop me a line, gourrier@yahoo.com, or drop a comment on my page. I'm very glad that things happened the way they did. Otherwise we wouldn't have this conversation. Once again, for Slammin Synapses, this is Gourrier. See you next time.